Alright. We actually have quite a few packages to go through. And we're going to begin with this really big one, which, if I were to take a guess, this one's actually a Gundam one. I guess we'll find out when I open it, find out that I misremembered or something like that. Yeah, I had some mesquite barbecue chicken for dinner just a little bit ago, and it's a little harder on me. Yeah, and I've noticed the red light there too. That should be okay. Oh, no. So this one is Evangelion, and so then this one will be the thing. I don't have to put that away just yet. I think there's nothing in here. Yeah. Yeah, that's Gundam. Alright. Next up, we've got 4 more packages. So this one is one of those evil recycling things. So, no scissors. And then we got that out. Let's put that in the pile. That. And then finally, we got these 2 things. I'm going to try and get them both with the scissors at the same time. Having trouble lining them up. But that's all I need to do. And we've got quite a pile. So, let's begin with these. So, I've got Pokemon Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl. This is the double pack. It's already opened up, as you can see. And, you know, taking a quick peek at the double pack. Now, I put these back in here. Oh, jeez. They're upside down. There's also a little piece of paper that came in there, but I figured, you know, no need to show it. It's just codes for 200 Pokeballs. But yeah, these are basically, you know, individual releases. You can see Brilliant Diamond's already in the Switch. Shining Pearl is still right there. Interesting. The insides are different. I wonder if they're normally different like that, or if that's And then I realized, you know, I never got new Pokemon Snap. I never played original Pokemon Snap, but I figured, let's get Pokemon. Let's top up Pokemon. Alright, so first we got a sticker on Season 2 of Muhyo Roji's Bureau of Supernatural Investigation. Regions A and B, English dub. This spiritual battle can't be won alone. Wow. Come on. Yeah, basically it's sticking to the Blu-ray in that corner and not wanting to come up. That person. I mean, the guy behind this disc is his main person. The guy back here is somebody I don't know much about. They weren't introduced in the handful of episodes that I saw. They're obviously right here, and I only saw them but didn't get the full picture of what they were, but yeah. Next up we have Kodocha, the complete first series, on Blu-ray. This is 51 episodes on standard edition. So the thing I'm curious about this, and I really should have fired it up to find out. So I think it was Funimation that released it before. English dub. Clean openings, plural, clean endings. So, one thing that's kind of noticeable about the previous US release of Kodocha is they didn't have the rights to the song used in the first opening. And that actually had an effect where, when you watch this with Japanese with English subtitles, there were a couple of parts in some episodes that were completely silent, only had subtitles, because that song was also used for those parts. So I'm kind of curious. I don't remember when everything changed. 51 episodes is a lot of episodes, but the series began in that release with opening 2. So I'm kind of curious if I fire this up and see that it's opening 1. Not that I know what that even looks like. But somehow I kind of suspect, since this is a, I do believe this is a Disco Eastern Star, kind of a mop-up, maybe a re-release, I guess. I wouldn't be surprised if they put a little more effort into doing that if it really took that. I mean, I get the impression that with licensing rights, it costs too much, and that would be why, like another Funimation release title, Speed Grapher, didn't have the original Japanese opening, Akudama Drive. So it is kind of neat. I don't think it's something that I would consider normally up my alleyway of interest. But yeah, so Speed Grapher, if you didn't know, the original Japanese opening was Duran Duran Girls on Film. Regions A and B, English dub. And I know you have, I know there's a YouTube video where if you look for Speed Grapher Japanese openings, somebody posted the one that was remade for Funimation. And it may be a good opening, but it's really hard to tell because Duran Duran Girls on Film is like, it's not even just a fucking classic, it's a motherfucking classic. I mean, can't really blame anybody for being unable to compete with that. This is first year. And I don't think it's necessarily trying to compete, but the opening was made for it. Like, I watched Speed Grapher as it came out, and it first began with, individual episodes. It was kind of Magical Shopping Arcade Abenobashi style. That's the way I thought of it at the time. Where the opening was comprised mostly of scenes from the first episode, but then some scenes from the episode you were about to watch as well. There's something about this character design. It's definitely got me curious. I mean, I'm not a big on the streets kind of person. Oh, yeah, this is Blu-ray 1 and 2 and DVD 1 and DVD 2. It looks like a metal arm. I mean, I kind of got the impression this is a little cyberpunky. So definitely curious. I don't know. I get the feeling that this is just reminding me of like 2 or 3 characters at the same time. That one's kind of bugging me a little because I can't think of what it is. I know some people like to say, oh, that's just deja vu, but no, sometimes it really isn't just, oh, you're getting a memory of the thing you just looked at. There's something else it's definitely mentally triggering. Saw that picture of them in here. And here comes the limited edition. So, well, the art book part is part of the limited edition. Did I determine if this is a complete first season or a season 1 part 1? This is the complete season there. So if it isn't complete, then that's because they're planning on maybe releasing a season 2. Okay, so, you know, I never pay perfect attention to everything that's showing up. So first off, we have these, which, you know, are kind of meaningless to me. Like, if I were to look at these, I probably wouldn't very quickly put together anime unless I looked at the shirt a little closer, but I don't tend to be that observant. But, I can kind of tell, if there's any reason I wouldn't care as much for this, is I definitely like a show which has a main character. I'm sure there's others that don't have main characters that I've talked about, but this kind of looks like it's got all these awesome characters. Somebody can probably tell me how awesome it is. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks more like a metal hand there. Can I do this? Remember, I like to save those for some reason. Next up, we've got Bungo and Alchemist. The complete season. There's definitely some red subtext, well, technically gold subtext on a red background down there, but I can't read it. And so first I'm going to remove this distracting sticker from the corner. Glass of Judgment. Glare of Judgment. Stars of... Jesus fucking Christ, I cannot read. It's something of Judgment. Oh, I'm taking a look at the back. We've got regions A and B. We've got an English dub. Their Tales Are Running Out of Time, a stunning literary masterpiece from Studio OLM. Oh, but we got black and white on the... So it's pretty cool. Slipcovers aren't usually mixed up that much. I really hate when plastic is tenacious like that. And guess what? It is holding it shut. Woohoo. Stupid glass. Yeah, really not sure what to think about it. Definitely curious. But I guess there's been a couple of things I've been curious about today. And how many anime have y'all seen me be curious about and not actually watch or anything like that? Next up we have Volume 2 of something. Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway. Is it a 2? Interesting. I mean, I imported it through Right Stuff, which usually means that it's got Japanese with English subtitles. And this is one of those Japanese releases where I guess I want to save the plastic, but let's take a peek very carefully. This is the Hathaway special disc. It's not a 2, that's an H. Okay. I mean, there's a lot of English here, but it's so small that I'm not even going to try to read it. And then this is usually the main release. There's definitely a booklet here. Yeah, kind of hard to flip through it, but very quickly I saw Gundam and I saw character designs. So, yeah, I'm not sure. But This is mostly Gundam Hathaway. Hathaway. And then, you know, see, I guess if I'm willing to let this get separated, then I don't have to keep the plastic, but because it's all fairly illegible to me, I kind of want to keep it together because it would be, I don't have a good sorting system for if I have to reassociate them. I mean, if I really needed to, I could do it where I just have a box full of stuff and I'm like, oh, I guess I should go find that special disc. And then I spend a couple years learning Japanese or something. But that said, these plastics never want to go back on. And the main problem is that the flap on the top always has that adhesive on it. Oh, come on. This corner is all that's preventing it from sliding down. That's really annoying. Which is why, you know, when I can throw the plastic away, I usually do. Last but not least, we have another Evangelion Blu-ray release. But this one has both English dubs on it. The newer Netflix one, I think is what I would call it. I'm not sure if it's actually Netflix, but it's supposed to have that and the old classic ADV dub all on Blu-ray. This one says "Be Kids Still," so okay. This is the limited edition version. Let's do that and go through these one time. And preferably reseat all the discs and whatever things they may have fallen out of. 2, 3, 4. End of Evangelion. So this almost feels like the complete series here. So then what's in each of these other ones? Well, the first disc is always loose apparently. Classic. Can't read that word, but hopefully, you know, y'all can. It's not focusing. Classic dub subversion. Okay. So then this goes through, you know, all of them again. Disc 11 here has the end of Evangelion. Interesting. See, I was wondering if it was doing something like that, and then I had to go and knock all my fucking stuff off the table. Wow. Go me. Art cards, that. 00. Because there was 1 and there was 2, and 00. This feels a lot lighter. Okay. Is this a soundtrack, maybe? Bonus content. I'm not entirely sure what all is on here then. So next up we've got this. That's a lot of dense text. But I see like some of the angels in there and references and stuff. It reminds me of the content of the old ADV DVDs. It could be something sort of like that. And then last but not least, we've got art cards. Which I took out upside down, so we'll do this. These are kind of classic images. These were used for the original DVD releases. Now, something about these looks a little more artsy and less... I mean, I don't remember this one being used for DVD, but... Kaoru. Gendo. Yeah. I'd like to say I grew up on this stuff, but I think it's more accurate to say that I got into anime on this stuff because of this stuff. So Evangelion is near and dear, and it was also what kind of got me into saying, fuck it, let's start buying series on Blu-ray DVD. At the time, I didn't think I would. But Evangelion is where it began. Okay. Well, maybe I can do this to get that in there and save all the pretty artwork. There we go. Here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Alright, let's see. For starters, I guess watch more of Rising of the Shield Hero with my Friday friend. It's a good series. I continue to watch it and enjoy it. I'm not sure if there's much more I can say about it other than, you know, I've just been reminiscing about some of the parts of the series, both dark places it goes, some of the events that happen. You know, it's a... There's something about it that's just kind of nice, especially since I feel a lot more angry lately, just in general. But part of, I think, what makes it great is it doesn't just sit there. It's doing curious and interesting things. Oh well, other stuff. I watched the first episode of Science Fell in Love, so I tried to prove it. And it's definitely trying to be silly. But for some reason, I guess the trying to be silly while trying to use smart-sounding stuff kind of doesn't work for me. I mean, I think there was some hypothesis on my part that I wouldn't enjoy it anyways. Mostly along those lines. And I think there are people who probably do enjoy it, but for me, it just feels... I don't know. A little absurd, like... I don't know if I've got a good, clear idea in my head, but it just kind of struck me as something where it's like, okay, now they're talking about the point of things being like baser animal instincts or something when, you know, we are subject to those in our day-to-day lives. The need to sleep, the need to eat, the need to pee. You know, it's part of what we are. And so it's kind of weird that we try to talk about things as if it isn't that, and then it's... You know, it's trying to be funny while doing it, but I guess I just get too wrapped up in the details and didn't feel like continuing to watch it, I guess. So, you know, it is what it is. And then the other thing to talk about is I watched the Irregular at Magic High Visitor arc. It is a sequel to the series, although I can't remember if what happened at the very end of the series talked about kind of where this begins. But for the most part, it was okay. I mean, I say okay from the perspective of if you enjoyed the Irregular at Magic High. I'd say the big problem with it is it feels a little arbitrary, which sounds like it should be fine because there's a lot of arbitrary direction that happened in the original series. But that arbitrary was more just like, oh, you're going to school on a day-to-day basis and sometimes the next day happens. So that was kind of an arbitrary that made sense being threaded together. This one felt like an actual story arc that's like, I don't know, something more out of another series, kinda. Not that the stuff it did was bad and not that it was uninteresting, but it's definitely a change from where the series was. And I do remember nearing the end that it was feeling a little different, but not necessarily in a way that wasn't natural. But I don't know. I guess I don't know how that one was planning to go on to more stuff from there per se. And maybe I need to rewatch it to tell because I just can't remember it too specifically to know. But for this one, it's just sort of like this other story about this other thing, and our main characters are kind of involved with it, and the fact that he's a regular at Magic High seems unimportant to it, which, is kind of completely contradictory to the name of the series, which was kind of the point of the series. And then it gets even weirder for the last couple of episodes, where it's telling another story. Kinda? Well, yeah, it is. And the writing felt a little weaker there. In particular, they had this brother-sister pair that were doing something, and they were doing a very bad job of pulling an exposition move where, usually you have a character that doesn't know whatever is special about this story or this world or this anything that you're telling in the show, right? And they're the vehicle for the audience getting to learn this stuff. And, you'll have movies like Thor Dark World, which pull it off completely wrong because they had the characters that could learn that stuff, but they told us all of it at the beginning and then had the characters go through and learn it. It was pointless. Like, that one was badly executed. This one, they have it where one of the characters should know stuff that they just don't know, and then the other one, it's like, oh, don't you remember? We're supposed to blah, 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 and it's just exposition that's so on the nose that is so poorly executed. It's just like, and it's not completely horrible. It's just, if you watch the regular at Magic High, then you kind of get attached to the idea that it presented, which is closely attached to the name, which, is what makes it enjoyable. And this still does stuff with the characters that are, the characters being the characters and enjoyable. If I were to take a guess, I didn't remember there being a dub, so I have to take a look at it again, but I almost wonder if this was dubbed and the other one was not, or if the other one was, but the initial release wasn't dubbed and all I have is subbed, I should probably buy dubbed. So I should look into that a bit more. Let's see. Other than that, I'm just playing Dead by Daylight whenever. The main thing gets to talk about, I think I probably mentioned last week that the release of the new Killer was going to happen. I mean, it's not that the release of the new Survivor is unimportant either. It's just the Killer is more important because the Killer really dictates a new kind of more changes, more shake-up in the rules of how the games are played. Like, normally, a killer has to be aware of what perks survivors might have, but it's the killer and the killer abilities that are determining what sort of flow the entire match is going to go through. So, for example, you have somebody playing as Trapper, and then once the survivors learn, oh, there's a Trapper, that's when they start staring at the ground a bit more, trying not to step in traps, and then messing up because of the tall grass. Because not only are there Pokemon hidden in there, but there's bear traps too. Or if it's Wraith and you find out you're dealing with a Wraith, then you're looking for that shimmer of it coming closer to you, listening for that bell when it's going to ring, trying to plan your escapes to specifically deal with that slight rush it gets when it comes out of its cloaking phase. So, yeah, so I guess to talk about Jonah a little bit, I haven't found anything about his perks specifically useful, but some of that should make sense. His Overcome perk is probably his most notable one, and interestingly enough, it's his lower cost one, as in, like, normally when you level up a killer or survivor, you're going to unlock the first perk, the second perk, and then the third and final perk, and that's unlock them for everybody else. They start with their 3 basic perks, and it sounded like they didn't used to way back in the past. But I digress. The point is, for him, his exhaustion perk is probably the thing that's more interesting. His boon is placed as his most expensive, and is probably not quite the least, but it is a little... It seems like it's harder for it to just work in general. Like, I've only used it once, and it
almost had an opportunity to be used, but that's the problem with it is you basically have to be knocked down by the killer and not picked back up. And when he's present, any killer that knows what they're doing are going to do that. They just have to maybe get forgetful about that because of endgame collapse. But then the survivors in question also have to remember that it's there, and they didn't. And it was funny, but you know, that's the reality of his boon. Is it's the weakest of the 3 boons by a long shot. Like, Circle of Healing is metagame changing, and Boon Shadow Step is infuriating. And I don't actually get angry about it, because again, I try to play non-sweaty. But I'm just talking in general, like, if Circle of Healing didn't exist, then you would just have killers that go, oh, fucking Boon, no, Boon should be around, and instead they're claiming it's unbalanced. And I kind of agree with them to an extent, but at the same time, I never thought of the game as particularly balanced, and I'm not playing that way. Anyways, the point is, you know, he's pretty good. I still always like to refer to him as Guy Fieri. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right. Because if they gave Jonas some frosted tips and a flaming shirt, then we'd all be going to Flavor Town, and we'd be bringing Pop-Tart with us. And that joke is because he has a little iPad, or not an iPad, just a pad device in his hand, but because you can't see it too well, it looks kind of like a Pop-Tart. It's really quite funny. But yeah, the killer, that's where it's at. And people are definitely really excited and also really scared and disappointed. I think the scared, disappointed are people that have to go up against her. And this can also include people that play her that are afraid for the people that have to go up against her. But she has some great perks. And at the same time, she really does provide something that's really different. A different way of, oh, this is how this killer plays. This is how this killer has to be played against. She brings some variety to it. I would be really sad if she ended up getting nerfed, which is possible. But as she is right now, she kind of gives a very different kind of gameplay. And I guess I wasn't quite sure if I was going to get any cosmetics for her, but I ended up getting her frozen headpiece and the black and white normal dress. Like, the frozen dress is kind of neat, but it's more obviously a frozen thing, whereas if it's just the head with some weird dress below it, then it gives off a kind of more otherworldly feel. And it's not that her normal head is bad, but I really do like the going slightly otherworldly. There's something I like more about the non-regular head. It's a weird thing. And it's interesting because it looks like I'm not the only one doing that, because, you know, a lot of other people are pairing that head with this. I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, I would think it makes sense because I chose to do that as well. And playing as her has just been fun. I kind of worry that me playing as her is a bit like me playing Doctor, in that, you know, I tend to stay pretty low rank because I'm very not sweaty. But it does mean that even though all the survivors escape and get a lot of blood points, that I'm probably tormenting them the entire time. And in this case, eventually I'll just reach a point where I'm just tormenting them from the other side of the map, because birds, birds, birds for everybody. Fun killer. Alright. It's been a fun week. It's also been a hard week. I kind of hope this Christmas vacation comes up, feels like it comes up soon. But for now, you know, hanging in there, doing whatever. I should finish pre-ordering the remainder of December's anime. I've only gone a couple weeks in, because it's kind of hard. There's not as many offerings showing up on Amazon as there usually would be. So, Right Stuff's getting a lot more money from me this month, which is good for them. You know, they do a good job too. The only reason I try to lean more towards Amazon is just because you kind of can't beat Amazon's shipping. You know, they do a good job of it. Alright. Well, that's my babbling. Y'all, have a nice week.